Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel for a brand new video on Marvel Contest of Champions. This one is focused on Carina Tavan. Now, I've got this kind of theory that she's going to be a boss at some point, and also there may be another character that could be a big deal that is a little bit of a red herring but may not go down the route of Galactus, where we kind of think that, hey, that's going to be the big boss man. Possibly not for Act 6, it possibly will be something else, but we'll talk about that in a moment. But I just want to give you a few details on what to expect from the character, Carina Tavan, if she is indeed number one, a boss, or number two, a playable character in the future, and should we be scared? So as you know, a couple of weeks ago, we had the artwork for Carina put out. This is what the character looks like, and at the same time, what does this really mean? Is it going to be a case that, because this looks like a proper character, like similar to Scarlet Witch, similar to other characters, it's a fully formed character. So it's more than likely it's even going to be number one, a boss, or number two, have some sort of purpose throughout Act 6. A big clue to the extent of power that she could possess is, well, pretty much shown here. This kind of use of some sort of energy-based power, blasts, or some sort of, similar to Scarlet Witch, some sort of like mental, telepathic manipulation. It could be a whole host of things, but it definitely looks like it is either energy-based or has some sort of different connotation to it. That could be some kind of psionic powers, but we'll have to see. Also, slight segue, interesting finding out about her mother. Now we know of the Collector, that's the dad, but also what of her mother? Her mother was kind of like, had no purpose to her life, especially with Carina going to go off to explore the universe. She felt she had no purpose to her life, so her mother decided to give up her immortality and effectively died, which then set about the Collector then becoming the Collector. I think he was quite fine with his life. Obviously, he had the love of his life, had a daughter, but at the same time, yeah, that's pretty sad. There's another twist in the tale. Later on, the Collector gets his daughter, Carina, to go to Earth under a different name, Carina Walters, in order to lure and eventually fall in love with and seduce Korvac in order to fulfill something at a later point. The Collector believes that by manipulating Korvac, they'll be able to stand up against Thanos in the future, but everything backfires and Carina then changes her thought process. She actually does fall in love with Korvac, and Korvac may play a big part in, could be, Avengers Endgame, and maybe even could with Act 6, but I'd like them to touch into the story, but I don't think it would be too much going their way. However though, with the age that we've seen with the images, it could be a case that Kabam have an idea that they could make Korvac and Carina play some big part in Act 6, or maybe even set up further stories in the future. There's also further stories how they continued on a ruse on Earth, and also how they were both defeated, especially with Carina actually being killed by Mjolnir. So there's a lot of interesting backstory to this. A link is in the description. It will take you over just to learn a bit more, but that does kind of take you into the further part of Carina's age, and this may be in game very much early on. But at the same time, she does possess a lot of powers. Pre to the time of Korvac and post to the time of Korvac, because Korvac does distribute some powers to her. The only way Korvac can actually link together with stuff going on in the contest is largely through the Grand Master. There's a lot of backstory to Michael Korvac, so a link to his page is in the description below. But effectively what we're saying is this guy was very vengeful, he was then manipulated, he was then grafted some kind of machine that effectively became a cyborg. Then he was then sent through time by the Grand Master in order to go against Doctor Strange and the Defenders. So there's a lot of stuff going on for this character. Then later on he finds himself on Galactus Space Station and absorbs some cosmic powers from downloading some sort of information. And then we find out, as we know, what he was doing on Earth, especially trying to get some alter ego and at the same time meeting up with Carina Tavan. If you want to know the extent of Korvac's powers, it's like saying like Vision on steroids, having that computer edge to things, but also the understanding of mystical powers, manipulation of various different kinds. We're talking godlike powers in a machine, similar to Vision, but on another level. But I know you're thinking, Rich, you've gone so off topic, and I know, but we're all going to bring it into the final piece, and that is, where does this lady come in? And this is the point of power transferring, whether or not it's a point of saying, right, we are going to meet Korvac along the way, and therefore we're going to get a really powerful Carina right at the very end, maybe vengeful against stuff that's going on with her lover Korvac. Maybe the Collector is going to send her to Earth, maybe not, to manipulate and also just get him on side for the final fight against the Grand Master. With the Grand Master, as we know, who has had at play with Korvac, link everything together, Possibly, but the power is important. Carina still possesses amazing powers prior to the advancements given by Korvac. In particular, we're talking about powerful energy blasts, we're talking of matter manipulation. There are a whole host of characters that are able to matter manipulation, from Thanos, Adam Warlock, Jean Grey, and even Scarlet Witch, so the list goes on of characters that can possess this. Now, if you take that into consideration and couple that with what we see here, then this might change the ideas of the puzzle and at the same time open up some very powerful champions that are going to be bosses in the future. In any case, that has been a little deep dive into the whole story of Carina TeVan, also Michael Korvac, and the idea of potential bosses we could see and their potential abilities. Now, it's all based on speculation, but at the same time, it's interesting to see the way that the character has been aged, especially with that picture that we saw 2 weeks ago, that image of her manipulating or using some kind of energy-based power. It does make me think that that could be a hint that she will be a playable character, number one, also number two, potentially being a boss. Especially thinking like she could turn on the Collector. She's been recently resurrected. And at the same time, if you follow a lot of things, it's like Pet Cemetery, when something is kind of like comes back from the dead. Similar with Superman, the way that their kind of like mental state is, they're a bit kind of rocky. So it could be a change in direction. Yes, it's great she's back from the dead, but she could be completely changed. But anyway, I could be completely wrong. If you want to have your say on this subject, then put a comment down below. And at the same time, if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button and subscribe for Marvel Contest of Champions based content. Support the channel and me as a creator by becoming a member if you want to. And if you're interested in buying any merch, link is in the description below as well. Thanks very much for watching, and I shall see you in the next one. Bye bye for now.